title of this podcast is most likely going to be Stabbed in the Back.
That's a fitting title.
Well,
It's a fitting title.
let's stop for a second.
Go ahead.
Who took that picture?
My wife.
Of course. Okay. Did you say, okay, let's go out and take a picture? Was there like a plan of that pose?
The day that picture was taken, I'd been a firefighter for 1 day. So the way it used to work is...
During the academy, was there ever a point where she, let's say her eyes kind of glazed over and she saw a different Ben? And maybe she was a little bit, hello, husband.
I wish.
I'm the male roof of the saw, and he doesn't want to hurt me. So he consciously bumped me and then backed off and then said, oh, here I go. And then he said he kind of like did like a cat thing where he
Right.
kind of grabbed onto it.
Right. Shit.
And he just said, Ben.
New details about what firefighters are calling a vicious assault on their own. 2 firefighters stabbed repeatedly, one man in the upper body, the other in the back, the knife puncturing and collapsing his lung.
I ended up stabbed in the back, right? But it was caught on tape, on video, and so I always enjoy showing the video to an audience, and I'm going to share that video with you guys today, and this is going to turn into a tension pneumo. I'm a goner, right? Like, I'm fucked. So, they're flying to the hospital. We've got PDs giving us escorts. They're moving quickly. If somebody, just one person sees this podcast and goes, okay, I'll go get help. It's worth it. Absolutely worth it. Because it's just our culture created such a terrible culture of asking for help.
My name is John. This is the brigade. I got Sang.
Hello. How you doing?
And I got Ben here. And I will let Ben introduce himself.
Good morning, everybody. Ben Vernon. Well, let's see here. I work with both these gentlemen. I'm an engineer, paramedic. Been on 15 years, and I'm excited to be your first guest. I'm one of your top fans anyway, so I feel...
Yes, you are. You're always first to comment. and I noticed that on Facebook, you are probably my number one sharer of content, and you're always, what's your rule?
If it makes me laugh, that's my only rule. If it makes me laugh, then I have to share it. And I'm always disappointed when something catches me off guard and it's really stupid. But if it catches me off guard and I laugh, I'm like, well, damn it. All right. Maybe it'll catch somebody else off guard. So, yeah, that's my only rule. If it makes me laugh, then I share it. Gosh, let's see here. Been on 15 years. And I am a big advocate for mental health because I got my ass kicked coming up on 6 years ago. And I had a lot of struggle with mental health after that. And my kind of journey through that, I really learned a lot. And I'll tell you, everything I learned, I feel like I should have already known. I feel like mental health should be a lot better taught, more education. And so it's become a passion of mine, is trying to educate as many first responders as I can about what I learned about mental health. I learned everything the hard way, which is, I think, unfortunately, sometimes the best lessons, but I learned everything the hard way, and I would like other people to learn from me without having to go through what I went through. So it's been a crazy journey. Basically, I'll share my story with you guys today. It's about an hour long. I travel all over the world now and give this talk.
It's benvernon.com, right?
Yeah, benvernon.com.
Oh, nice.
I know. It's so weird how life works. That's never been my goal. But what I've learned is I was invited to give the keynote presentation at a conference in New Jersey. Dr. Clancy is a woman that was running a conference out there in New Jersey. And she read an article that I wrote for Gems magazine in February of 2016. And
I read that.
And she called and said, hey, will you be the keynote presenter? And I said, sure. And later I got to meet her and I said, man, you took a huge risk. You don't even know if I can speak.
Like, first, what's keynote?
Exactly. You want me to do what? For how long? In front of how many people? So I gave a talk, and what I learned at that point is that there are a lot of people from other conferences that go strictly to scout who they like to bring to their conference. And so suddenly, I think I spoke in like September 2016, the first time, about my injury and about PTSD and about what I learned. And then I just started getting more and more requests, just kind of like you, how it was organic. It grew. It's something I enjoy. It's very therapeutic for me to talk about my injury and about the lessons, post-traumatic growth, really, becoming stronger mentally after the event. And then, 2020 hit and just tanked everything. So it's good. I've done a lot of podcasts. I've done a lot of Zoom stuff, but I'm looking forward to getting back out there and sharing my story. And
I think what people, they probably know or they don't know, but the title of this podcast is most likely going to be Stabbed in the Back.
That's a fitting title.
Well,
It's a fitting title.
Title is what I do. I'm very good at grabbing attention. I think it's something I'm very good at. And the fact that you just laughed and sang laughed right when I said it, it's going to have to be the title.
Absolutely.
And that's our goal. Our goal is, obviously this is a serious situation, but our goal is through laughter, and sometimes it's good to heal. And honestly, I think firefighters in general, the only way we're going to be able to grab them and get them to actually listen to some of this real stuff is to make them chuckle. We're all busy. Our attention spans are probably, I always say a firefighter attention span is probably, I don't know, half a second.
Yeah.
And I think Stabbed in the Back will get your attention and allow you to tell your story, and hopefully we can help some people out there.
Well, what's cool is I ended up stabbed in the back, right? But it was caught on tape, on video. And so I always enjoy showing the video to an audience, and I'm going to share that video with you guys today, and hopefully they'll be able to see it on your visual podcast. But it's always fun just to see the oohs and ahs, but then I always try to
grab their attention.
Absolutely. But then to make fun of it and light of it is key, I think, to swallowing that medicine,
Yeah, I think you have a presentation. I'm going to try my best to try to edit it in. But
yeah, good luck with that. So I call this presentation just Unexpected Nightmares, Understanding the Hurdles of Recovering from PTSD. So I'll share my story. We'll go through the video, and hopefully you guys can see the video, because I think it's very important to, when you see a knife go in my chest, it definitely gets your attention. And then just share kind of what happened after me and how I recovered. It was a long uphill battle, but that's basically what we're going to do. I have a video of the news clip of the day I got stabbed, and so I don't know if you want to show that as well. But this is Chief Maynard.
People don't see in their normal lives. And we seem to go through that very well, but when one of ours is involved, it really changes the dynamic, and it really hits home.
It was a first for San Diego firefighters who thought they'd seen it all. Just 2 hours ago, the department discussed the frightening details about how two of their own were stabbed during the middle of a rescue call.
10 News reporter Riel Creighton is live at police headquarters with the serious injuries both of those firefighters suffered. Riel.
Yeah, as you said, Stephen, I take it those injuries very severe between the two of them. Those firefighters identified as Ben Vernon and Alex Walbert. Between the two of them, nearly 20 years experience as first responders. We just learned at this press conference just about 90 minutes ago that both men are expected to survive despite being stabbed multiple times while trying to help someone.
This thing went bad very, very quickly.
New details about what firefighters are calling a vicious assault on their own. Two firefighters stabbed repeatedly, one man in the upper body, the other in the back, the knife puncturing and collapsing his lung. The men were on a sick call to this trolley stop at Park and Market on the east platform trying to help someone when police say they were attacked.
He was asked several times by the firefighters to move back. He continued to interfere with the firefighters. Jones physically attacked and stabbed two of the firefighters.
Police say he used a folding knife to go after the first responders.
Before they knew it, they thought they were being punched. Before they knew it, they realized they had been stabbed.
Fire Chief Javier Maynard says he's never seen anything like it in 35 years, describing the entire department as emotional.
These very senior people that I spoke with last night, including senior captains, supervisors, were visibly shaken to the point of tears.
So I just like kind of framing the whole thing. This was the day of the event. For myself, I came on in 2006, and I like to show this.
Damn, look at that picture.
Well, I show that people for two reasons. And the first is because I'm absolutely gorgeous in that photo.
Damn.
I mean, dude, I love that photo.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Did you?
And the stick.
Let's stop for a second.
Go ahead.
Who took that picture?
My wife.
Of course. Okay. Did you say, okay, let's go out and take a picture? Was there like a plan to that pose there?
Okay, so what's funny is I laugh. That face, right? I am cocky, arrogant, smug. The day that picture was taken, I'd been a firefighter for 1 day. So the way it used to work is during the academy, toward the end, you would go get fitted for your Class A. So I got fitted for it, but it wasn't ready yet. You graduate, right? You go on. I had done my first day on probation. I came home and my uniform was waiting for me. And I put it on. It was my first time ever put on a Class A. And I go, babe, you have got to take a picture of me. Like, I look good.
Wait, hold on. Okay.
And so she did.
So your wife, is there any firefighters in your family?
No.
Or hers?
Nope.
Okay. During the academy, was there ever a point where she, let's say her eyes kind of glazed over and she saw a different bin? And maybe she was a little bit, hello, husband.
I wish that she had given me that look.
Did that moment happen there?
It did
No?
not.
Has it ever happened?
Well, yes, but not from that. And I happen to pick a woman.
You know what I'm talking about. You come
yeah.
home and there's a different look your wife's giving you and you don't even know why. Or wait, what is happening here?
Yeah. I got that look. I was given an award for saving someone's life. And my wife gave me that look. And I quickly was like, I got to get home right now. Like, let's go. I'm going to capitalize on that look.
So I can tell you that my wife's going to kill me for talking about this, but same thing. No, there's no firefighters in my family, nothing like that. My wife's not really, into that. And
right.
We were doing the academy night. Academy night?
Mm-hmm.
Family night, yeah.
I don't even know if Sang was in my academy.
Yeah.
We were doing academy night. It was still daylight, actually. And all I did was get off the rig. And just so people don't know, there's all your family's there watching you do hose lays.
Yep.
And I got off the pump, and I think I just yelled hose as I was flaking the hose out, and the hose went near the family, and I was doing it with aggression, but you're taught to say it with force.
Purpose,
yes.
baby.
Yes.
Say it with force, do it with force, what is it, aggressively, whatever. And she gave me I saw it from across the parking lot. And let's just say when I got home, there was a little different look that I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
And it was just silly academy stuff.
I happened to pick
that went away real fast after a bunch of Mandos. And
well, yeah. Well, I come home now in uniform, and she stops me at the front door with a garden hose. Like, decons me right there in the driveway.
Yeah, that goes a real way. Yeah. It goes fast.
Yeah. I've mistakenly told her some of the things that happen at work.
Sang is actually newly become fiancéed. Is that the right word?
Congrats, buddy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So just when that ever happens, you saying grasp that moment.
Yes.
Take it in.
Capitalize.
Because it's very brief. Because you'll have it for a moment. Like one day she'll come to the station, something will happen. You'll get a look and you'll get to live like holy crap, she's really into me right now. And then it's gone.
It is a fleeting
take it from
moment.
me and Ben, grasp it.
All right, now my wife's going to kill me for
it.
saying this. When she drinks, I get that look, but I have to time it because, 2 drinks in, I get the look, and then 3 drinks, and she's
and to be honest,
I
have kids. If my wife has drinks too early in the day, by the time the kids are in bed, it's all gone. Exactly. So I usually, when I see her drinking too early, you need to bring that shit a little later. You need to start a little later on that.
Yeah. I got to time it. As soon as she gets 2 in, I throw her in the car and drive around.
Taking notes.
Yeah, this is our last podcast, bud. You and I we're done. That's over.
It's a good thing I'm going to edit some of this.
Yeah. Leave all of this out.
Okay. All right, back to the Zoolander pose here.
Yeah. So my Zoolander pose. So
I think it's called Cold Steel.
Is that right? Blue Steel.
I know Sang knows.
I don't know, but that look, even I'm captivated. It's like looking right at me.
Sang's giving you the look of life.
Well, the reason I show this picture is because I am gorgeous. But if you look at that face, I am cocky, arrogant, and smug. And I was definitely that guy that didn't understand mental health. And if you had been struggling, I would have been the guy that says, well, suck it up, buttercup. It's what you signed up for. Or I'd have stand you, right? STAN, shit, that ain't nothing. You ran on dead baby. I ran on 2 dead babies. It didn't bother me. So what's your problem, right? And I just want to go back and punch that guy in the face because he doesn't get it. And I'm embarrassed by how I behaved, right? So that's, I like that picture. For me, I got on the job. I knew immediately I wanted to do special ops. I just thought that was where all of the fun stuff happened. So very quickly, I joined the hazmat team, and then I joined the USAR team, and then I was on the technical rescue team. I got on all those teams in about 5 years' time. And I'm telling you, man, my ego would not have fit in this room, right? Because my career is going exactly where I want it to go. And in 5 years, I think actually 6 years, I end up on the heavy rescue team full time, working downtown San Diego. And my career is just, it's going every day. I'm doing something to try to, right? I'm taking classes, I'm teaching, I'm training. I'm just trying to be the best firefighter I can be. I'm probably working way too much, but it's all because I just want to advance my career, right? And of course, I'm telling my wife, babe, you know, when I get off probation, we're going to start living the good life. I get off probation. Hey, I got this opportunity to go to hazmat school. I need to do hazmat training. I'll get a bump in pay, right? And then we'll live the good life. I'm on the hazmat team. I've been invited to be on urban search and rescue, so I got to take all these other rescue classes. But if we get deployed anywhere in the nation, right, I'll be the most badass rescuer I can be. You know, and she's like, okay, yeah, we'll live the good life later, right? Then I'm on technical rescue team and I'm teaching classes. I'm teaching at the academy, trying to keep my skills up. And I just remember at some point, you know, she's like, hey, when does it end? Right? When are you going to be satisfied? And that was a pretty poignant moment for me. But circle back to that of what I'm trying to do now. But that's kind of where I was before my injury. I love this picture. This is, everyone knows this guy. He's our coworker, Tim Hill. He is one of the funniest guys on the job. This is just him on a Tuesday. There's nothing happening. There's nothing special. It's just him walking around the station practically naked with a Viking helmet on. But I show this because my question is, in your career, fellas, what have you been trained with regards to mental health? Like, how much training have you received?
I mean, in the beginning, there was really nothing. Right. And then I feel like maybe in the recent years, there's just more talks about it. But yeah, I mean, we got the chaplains with the dogs. I know one of them could smell something, right? You know what? No, isn't there like am I making it up? There's one of the chaplain's dogs could smell some
anxiety.
Kink.
What is anxiety?
Maybe I'm making this up. I swear.
No, there is.
Right? You know, it's okay. You know what I'm thinking. I was
watching you struggle
for a second. I thought someone was effing with me, and I brought it up here. Like, damn. But yeah, like, you know,
you're like, I just got caught on the podcast. Totally, someone just got me right now.
But okay, he knows. He probably could explain it better. Yeah. But I know when we came on, there was literally, I want to say nothing, and it was like that same mentality, you know. And now I know there's more talks about it, and I know there's Focus, there's EPA, so I know there's some avenues, but more than when I came on, and I haven't been on it, you know, that long, but I still feel like a junior guy. But more than before.
Saying you got to quit saying that with that gray hair.
I know. You're the oldest probie ever.
That's how it goes. You know, the funny thing is that when I'm at work, like I don't have a hat on, you know, and I see like, you know, oh man, look at that gray. I have a hat on and like a patient. They're like, oh, how old are you, kid? I'm like, man, yeah. And then they, like, you know, grandma's like, oh, you're old enough to be. I'm like, what the hell, man? So,
well, here's what I'll tell you. 12 slides is all you get. And it is actually right at the beginning of your career. It is taught on the first day of EMT class. So I'm an EMT instructor, and I gave this lecture. It's 12 slides.
I'm just thinking about my first day at EMT school.
Right.
2007.
Okay.
And I don't remember anything.
Right. Well, when I laughed, because I'm the instructor, first of all, I didn't care about this stuff. I'm trying to skip past it to get to the good stuff, right? I want to get to OPQRST and BRIM and trauma and, right, GCS scores and how to go through chest pains. I want to get to the meat of the class. The very first day is the let's just get it out of the way stuff. And so this is 12 slides about mental health, but this is part of a much longer lecture about other things, right? About patient rights and all those other things. And what's funny is the first day of class, I see the EMT students, they're excited for blood, guts, and gore, right? They want mayhem. And they're flipping, I'm giving this lecture, they're flipping through the book and they're finding like the eyeball injury on page 498, right? And they're like nudging each other and it's a gruesome photo and they're excited. And so I laugh because if you weren't paying attention on the very first day, these 12 slides, that was your only mental health training, right? That you get. And so talk about see need, feel need, right? This is something we need to fix as a culture, is that there needs to be a lot more education.
I'm trying to think, like the point in my career where I realized I had no training at all, and I think we talked about this, was the first time I had to tell someone that their loved one was passed, and I didn't know what I was doing. You know, you sit them down. You're like, I think I should probably have them sit down because I don't want them to faint. So let's do that.
Right.
You know, and you're just trying to be, you know, as a person, you kind of sit there, you know, and this is before COVID. So you kind of hold their hand. You kind of, back then, I remember them teaching to kind of like, you know, you put your hand on their shoulder. Now you do that. And you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
But I remember kind of like talking to her. And I remember, the only thing I remember about training was not to say slang terms for someone like they passed. You have to say they're dead, which sounds odd to say it like that because that's not how people really talk. But seeing, I mean, in my case, it was an older lady, and her husband had passed, and seeing the look on her face, seeing that her life's over. I mean, I kind of got the vibe from the house that this was probably her last person she was with. I don't think there was. I just kind of got a vibe there was no family involved either, and doing that at 3 a.m, you know, in my early 20s with no training was a odd experience. And at the time, you just do it. You get back on the rig and you just go back what you're doing. And you're, like you said, you're cocky. You do your job, but over time, it does start creeping back in. Yeah. And the more times you do it over and over again. For me personally, it's not necessarily the person that's passed because most of the time, which I think we can do anyway, it's the reactions of the loved ones that stay with me.
Right.
They're never leaving me. The screams,
right.
the anger, you know, the stages of grief that they go through. That stuff has not left me, and I don't think it ever will.
Right.
And I feel like there's definitely a need for training. I think we did the 5 stages of grief, which is good because that stuff really happens in front of your eyes. And most dangerously, the anger one is real.
Right.
But yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. I don't know how to fix it, but there's definitely needs something.
Well, I have a friend. Her name is Alexandra Jobber, and she created a class to try to educate first responders on how to actually do death notifications because it's not something that's trained. So I'm a big fan of her, and I'd love to see her on the show at some point because she can really, you know, walk you through what's supposed to be done and what's not supposed to be done. And it's looking back, it's people are saying, you know, these are the calls that stuck with me. It's the ones where you have to notify somebody of death and you say the wrong thing, right? And now it weighs on you.
And again, I haven't taken the class, but what I do with people is the first thing I tell them is like, hey, there's nothing that you could have did,
right,
that I could have did, that this entire crew could have did differently. Like this happened in the night. Usually it does. It's like I need you to maybe explain what we did. It's like even those things that we did were not good to probably do anything.
Right.
You know, it's the only thing I figured out how to do. Because that's the first thing they asked me. I've noticed.
Yes.
What if I would have been here at night when it happened?
Right.
I have to say it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, even if it did,
right,
I might say that just because it doesn't matter at this point anyway.
Exactly.
It's not your fault.
Right. What are you going to say? Yeah, you probably would have given him half a chance when you started CPR. I don't know why you didn't.
Yeah, and even CPR in general is a when you get to that point, your odds are pretty slim anyway. Yeah. And I think people, because of TV, people think that there's this grand scheme to it, but it really isn't. Well, I mean, in my career, how many saves have you had? I mean, usually it's the
couple, just a few.
Yeah, and how many pronouncements? We're talking
hundreds
and hundreds, and usually the ones that are saves are usually the ones who pass from like a VFib, like a VTAC or like a heart attack. It just happens at that moment, like during the day, and you're able to just shock the heart back. But other than that, I mean, if you're older and you pass in the night, odds of those are coming back.
Oh, slim to none.
Or traumatic ones. On top of traumatic ones, there's no.
Well, I just wish TV would stop shocking asystole because that people like get irate that you're not trying everything you can, and you're just like, I swear to God, lady, Chicago fire.
Where's the thing? You gotta collect this.
Exactly.
You gotta collect this.
God, we don't do that. All right, so let's talk about the incident that almost cost me my life. June 24th, 2015. This happened at a trolley stop. The trolley security guards were wearing body cams. So not only was it caught on film, it was caught on film from multiple angles, which really helped in court. But it also helps on this presentation. I can show you exactly what happened. So in this picture, you're looking at this gentleman in the white T-shirt is an intoxicated male. He's our patient. These guys standing here with badges and guns are trolley security guards. And one thing I've learned to explain is these are not San Diego PD officers, because had they been San Diego PD officers, this call would have gone a lot different. And I am not mad at these guys at all, but I didn't learn until much later that they have very little training. They don't get a lot of, they're not doing 6 months in an academy. So my mistake, and I've made a lot, and we'll talk about all the mistakes I made, but we saw these guys, and we would call them trolley cops. And I see the badges and the guns and the handcuffs and the pepper spray. And I just I assumed they had the same level of training, right? A mistake almost cost me my life. The gentleman here in the black t-shirt, I call him Stabby. His full name is Stabby Stabberton, and he is the mayor of Stabberville. He is a homeless gentleman. These guys are homeless. They don't know each other. And the problem is this guy is really drunk, and he's fallen over, and the trolley guys and Stabby see him, and they all kind of descend on him at the same time to try to help. And so the issue is that the trolley guys are trying to get information out of the drunk patient. The Stabby is in the way, and he's kind of interfering, but he really wants to help. And so he's getting frustrated with the trolley guys, because the trolley guys are trying to get him out of the scene. What's making matters worse is the drunk guy, he's belligerent, and he's not cooperating with anybody, and he's arguing with everybody. And this call is going on for a while, and everyone is getting frustrated with everybody. If you look down to his knees, you see a gallon jug that is vodka and Gatorade. So this dude is lit. Okay. The call goes on, and what happens is trolley guys, meanwhile, though, the call is getting more aggressive, right? People are starting to shove. The drunk guy is trying to push Stabby away. He's like, get away from me. I don't want your help. And the trolley guys are telling Stabby, hey man, back off. We'll take care of it. Everybody's fighting with everybody. And it's almost to the point of coming to blows before we even show up. That one. So I'm on engine 4. That's where our heavy rescue rig was. And we're a double house. So half the time I'm on engine 4. The other half I'm on the USAR rig. Engine 4 is the busiest in the city. It's the 4th busiest in the country. And so we average 25 to 30 calls a shift. This call came in at, I think, 4 p.m. It was our 10th call of the day, and it was our 3rd time at the trolley stop. So I've got my window down. We would love to park right in front of where our patient is, but since the trolley tracks go right through there, we have to park a block away and walk in with our gear, right? But my window's down, and I can see my patient standing, and I can see him yelling and arguing with everybody on scene. As a medic, right, immediately I know, well, his airway's good. His blood pressure is good, right? Like in my head, I'm knocking this call down to, this is a nothing call. The call came in as intoxicated male at the trolley stop, right? And I've already been here 3 times. So complacency is the name of this game, because I am checked out, right? I already know I shouldn't be here. This call is stupid. Whatever. But that's from a block away. I've already made that decision. I get a turnover from the trolley guy, and he says, hey, you got a drunk, intoxicated male. And it was all I could do not to be a sarcastic dick and go, really? I couldn't, duh. I just thanked him. I go, all right, thanks. But at no point does he say, and by the way, for 20 minutes, we've had this other guy who's been causing problems, and you guys are walking in right as we're all about to come to blows. He doesn't give me any of that turnover. So I'm kind of walking into this call blind. And I think one of the mistakes we make is that we think the call begins when we show up. But we show up in the middle, right? Like all the things that have happened before you've walked through that door are going to carry over into when you walk in. And so you're going to walk into stuff blind. I think people need to be better prepared. We grab our gear, we walk in, there's 4 of us, right? We're 4 staffing. We circle up, there was 5 security guards with guns and 4 of us. So there's 9 of us there. This is 4 p.m. on a Wednesday, beautiful sunny afternoon. I'm outside, right? So there are no red flags. There is nothing to indicate I'm in danger. When we arrive, my partner, Alex Walbrett, who I mentioned earlier, he jumps in and starts doing an assessment, which is nice of him, gives me a break. As the medic, right, I'm doing 28 to 30 assessments a day. It gets tiring. So I actually go and talk to Stabby, and Stabby has some info for me. He starts telling me a bunch of information that is not relevant. You guys have all gotten turnovers from people who want to tell you about the dishes that they cleaned earlier. And I placate him for about a minute. I go, okay, man, thank you for all of that. I'll take over. I got it. And he says, okay. And he grabs his backpack and he walks away. And so you talk about just out of sight, out of mind. He left. And now if you're looking at my face, I am now focused on my patient, right? Let's make sure he's alert and oriented. Let's get his vitals and then let's get out of here. What I don't see is if you look over my right shoulder, Stabby didn't go very far. That 20 minutes of arguing and fighting with the security guards and with the patient, he's still pretty riled up. And he re-engages with trolley guys and he starts telling them, you were being rude and I was trying to help and you guys were dicks. And they engage him back and they start arguing with him. I hear all of that, but I don't care, right? It's behind me. I don't care. Then he goes after my captain, and my captain he's not particularly tall, right? He's 5'11", which is fine, but he's 5'11" wide and he is 5'11" thick. And he was a lineman and played college football. I mean, he's a big dude. And Stabby gets in his face and starts telling him that his firefighters were rude and weren't listening and he was trying to help. And I hear my captain go, hey man, I heard the trolley guys ask you to leave. I heard my guys ask you to leave. He goes, now I'm asking you to leave. We got this. We don't need your help. And he gets in my captain's face. He starts poking his finger in his chest. And he's like, screw you. I'm not going anywhere. You can go fuck yourself. And my captain goes, hey man, I need you to step back. And he puts his hand on his chest and he pushes him back. And the guy trips over a park bench. There it is. It is now game on. I don't see that. I don't hear that. I'm focused on my patient. But now I hear a fight. And so I turn around and he jumps up and starts punching a security guard in the face. Now you got to take a second and imagine my captain. We've only been on scene 90 seconds at this point, right? But my captain pushes the guy down. He gets up and punches a security guard. Right? My captain's like, what the
Yeah, and I think it's important to say too, like people can Monday morning quarterback these things, but these things are happening in split seconds.
Seconds.
So, and I think it's important to really emphasize that.
Right. Yes.
These are split second decisions.
Split second.
And it just happens.
And it happens fast. And I'm going to show you slow motion, but then I'm going to show you real speed because I want you to see how fast this fight actually happened. It was lightning fast. It was over before I'd even know it had started. Like it was just that quick. But yeah, my cap pushes the guy down. The guy gets up and starts beating up security guard. And so my captain's confused. He's like, what is happening right now? Well, I hear punches. So I turn around and I see him just throttling this guy. And I'm like, what the hell, right? I just got a turnover from him and now he's punching a dude in the face. All happened behind me. I don't know what's going on. But my thought is I'm going to run over. We're going to tackle this guy, take him to the ground, put him in handcuffs. And then when PD does show up, they're going to have two people, right? One go to the drunk tank, one go to jail. And so I kind of run over to help bring this guy down, but they hockey check him over that handrail I told you about, right? And so they check him and dump him on the other side. Honestly, I got to him and he's over on his back and I'm like, oh, okay, well, fight's over, right? Because it looked like they knocked the wind out of him. He looked kind of winded. And I go, all right, well, we're done here. Well, he rolls up onto his feet. And of the 9 of us, there happens to be one security guard on the other side of that railing. And so he very quickly locks onto that guy and just starts beating the shit out of him. And my thought is, oh my God, I got to save the security guard. And so I jump over the railing thinking I need to get to the security guard. And so as he's punching him, I get my body between both of them. I put my hands on their chest and I push them apart. And I just go, stop fighting. And I first look at the security guard and his eyeballs are swimming, dude, because he took like 5 or 6 right to the face. I mean, just throttled. And I was actually impressed the dude was still on his feet because I'm pretty sure I would have been on my ass. I mean, that dude just got punched hard by a big dude. Stabby's like 6'4", 220 pounds. He's a big dude. And so I just look at the security guard and go, dude, are you all right? And he goes, yeah, I'm all right. And I go, hey man, I'll be with you in 1 second. And then I turned and looked at Stabby and went, hey man, like what gives? Like what's going on? And I'm also thinking, oh, it's you from 90 seconds ago. I go, you and I had a good rapport. You gave me a turnover. You left cordially. Like, what's going on? Well, I mean, he's shifted gears. And in the time that I separated them, he pulled a knife. Now, I didn't know it until much later, but this dude was a prison-trained knife fighter. So he learned to stab in prison. So he pulled the knife. He didn't show it. He kept it hidden behind his back. And he locks eyes with me. And he says, I got you now, motherfucker. And I just remember thinking, well, that's not good, right? Like, that's not a good thing. And so my hands are up and I'm going, hey, man, easy, buddy, easy. Like, what's going on here? And I'm just I cannot calculate fast enough, right? This guy's moving much quicker than me. So here we go in slow motion video. You see my hands. I'm going, easy, dude, easy. And you see him as he's slowly kind of moving toward me. He is reaching in his back pocket for a knife. What was 9-on-1 is now quickly turned into 1-on-1. Here's my security guards. I love these guys, but they pull their pepper spray and pepper spray the air, right? So they don't hit anybody. And now I'm locked in. It's 1-on-1. And he goes, I got you now. And so I'm like, okay. And I start trying to back up, like, easy, buddy, easy. Hold on, talk. And I run into this railing and I get trapped. And that sensation of getting trapped, right, hitting that railing and knowing I'm out of room, I was just like, oh God. And so then he runs and I never saw the knife. He runs at me and gets chest to chest with me and then reaches around and punches me in the back. And I remember at the time thinking, man, you punch like a weirdo. Like, this is a weird way to fight, right? Like, I'm used to going fist to fist, face to face, and you're punching me in the back. Like, what a weirdo. And so he sticks me just above my belt, just below my kidney. I think he was below my kidney. And then this one was a kill shot. So this one was right behind my left arm, below my shoulder blade in my chest. So he broke my rib and punctured my lung. Again, I don't know I'm being stabbed. It just felt like I'm being punched. He pulled the knife out of my chest. It knocked all the wind out of me. And so I doubled over and I just went, ugh! And I kind of, flinched. He tried to stick me in the head and he missed. Now, what's funny is I came back to work and guys had seen this video and they go, Benny, you're such a badass. That guy tried to stab you in the head. You ducked that guy. And I go, damn right. I'm like a ninja. But I can't, honestly, this was happening so quick. I didn't know. I didn't know I'd been stabbed. It took me a couple of seconds afterwards to figure out what was going on. Now, I do enjoy showing this video because this next part is awesome. I believe in the academy, you guys were taught the 3 most important rules of being a firefighter, right? Rule number 1, always look good. Rule number 2, try to know what you're doing. And rule number 3, if you can't follow rule 2, revert back to rule number 1. So this guy just tried to stick me 3 times. The first thing I did was fix my sunglasses. So it's pretty awesome. I love that it was caught on tape. Like, yeah, well, you stabbed me, bro, but I still look good. Those glasses? Oh yeah, well those are Oakleys, so I was protecting them.
You're probably at that moment thinking, man, I should have been wearing the cheapies.
Yes, exactly.
This is a cheapie call. Where's my cheapies?
You better not have broke my Oakleys, you dick. You see in this video also my partner Alex. Alex is a big dude, man. He's also like 6'4", 240. He saw the guy punching me. He didn't realize the guy had a knife. Alex ran over and he tackled the guy.
Let me tell you a little story about Alex. Pretty recently, when I saw you on that fire, you and Alex was with me. We went to the roof and we were cutting a hole, and it was the Spanish tile, and it was a little mid-morning, so it was real wet. And this is my district, so I'm well aware of that. So I'm kind of careful with the slipperiness of it.
Yeah.
Poor Alex was working overtime up there.
I saw that.
He gets up to the roof. I didn't know who it was because he's wearing a mask. I just know he was coming to help me out. And he comes behind me, and all of a sudden I feel a bump in the back. As I'm sawing, I'm cutting at this exact moment. I'm cutting, and I feel a... Right. And I kind of glance, but my saw's running, so it's pretty important. I'm careful with what's going on with the saw. So
you don't just turn into him with a running saw.
So I kind of get it going. I stop it. I put the brake on, and I look, and poor Alex is on the ground next to me. And I thought during the saw, my thought was like, whoever that was just went off the roof. Right. And what do you do? Do you turn with your saw and go to grab him? No, I had this thought like, oh, that guy just fell off the roof. I don't know who it was, but he fell off the roof. I look, he's on his knees next to me. And maybe like a couple minutes later, we're done cutting the hole. He tells me, I knew it wasn't good. I saw Ben out there walking up here.
That's messed up, man. That was messed up.
He said, I knew this is not a good idea. I saw Ben. And I immediately waved at Ben. I went to the roof with you, and then this happened. I should have known better. He should have stayed on the ground. Sure enough, I get out down the fire. I see your smiling face down there, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
he's lucky. So that was another one of his. It was a 1-story house, but that would have hurt.
Well, but he gets a paper cut, and he'll send me a picture and be like, "Thanks a lot, Vernon."
And I'm like, he told me too. He knew I was with the saw, and he was consciously trying to not like hit me. Like he hit me, and he consciously said, "Well, I'm going off the roof right
Here
now."
I go.
Because if I go for him, we're gonna go with this. I'm gonna come down the roof with a saw,
right? And
he doesn't want to hurt me, so he consciously bumped me and then backed off and then said, "Oh, here I go." And then he said he kind of like did like a cat thing where you kind of grabbed onto it.
Right. Shit.
And he just said, oh, Ben.
Yeah, he blames me for all of his accidents now, which is some bullshit. It's pretty funny. Well, he actually did save my life on this call because he tackled the guy, took him to the ground, landed on top of him. And so he's like, oh, okay, I got him, right? Like he's laying on top of him and he doesn't know the guy has a knife either. And so the guy reaches around, just starts sticking Alex in the back, and he stabbed Alex 3 times. So he got him pretty good. Again, in just lightning fast. So I'm going to show you the clip now, and it comes out very loud on audio, but this is a clip of the same exact fight I just showed you, but in real speed. So 2 men stabbed 5 times in less than 3 seconds. So I got stabbed twice. Alex got stabbed 3 times. The whole thing's over in less than 5 seconds. So at this point, right, I don't even know I've been stabbed. And my engineer grabbed me and he threw me to the side. He was like trying to get me out of the way. So he throws me to the side. And I remember walking away and I'm like, man, that was a weird way to punch. And then all of a sudden I felt like warm liquid and then I couldn't take a deep breath. He had, punctured my lung and my lung had started to fill with blood. And so suddenly I can't take a full breath. And that's when I'm like, oh, he stabbed me. And by the time I figured it out, Alex had already been stabbed. Now, like everyone has jumped on top of this guy and they're holding him down, but it's over, right? The fight's over and damage is done and it's just lightning fast. I got rushed to the hospital. They ended up having to give me a chest tube while I'm awake, to emergency slice me open and shove a chest tube in my body. Just ridiculous pain. I like to show this picture. So I had earned a nickname. I have lots of nicknames on the show, but I had earned a nickname about 4 months before. We had a call at like 2 a.m. and it was a homeless woman on the street. And I got off the rig at 2 a.m. and I said, ma'am, how can I help you? And she said, hey, I'm sorry to call. There's nothing really wrong with me. I'm just lonely and I want a hug. And I just wasn't in the mood to fight with her. So I said, all right, ma'am. And I gave her a big hug. I ended up with bed bugs and lice. Oh, yeah. Well, my crew started calling me Olaf, the little snowman that gives warm hugs from the movie Frozen. And so I was Olaf. Well, sure enough, dude, when I came back to work, there are Olaf dolls with knives in them. All in my room, in the kitchen, on the dining room table.
Dude, I just got to tell you, when this happened, I don't remember the exact date, but I remember hearing about it. And just so you know, you don't know what's happening and this happens, but like the whole fire department, every firefighter had a pause. We all stopped. And we're like, who was it? What happened? And I remember consciously that day backing up a little bit on calls. And I still do to this day. And I just want you to know, we were all thinking about you. And to go into the jokes, as soon as we hear, you're going to be okay,
then it's game on.
Pretty much instant. We start thinking of funny stuff to tell you.
Right.
And I'm sure.
Oh, I'm going to show you another picture.
I'm sure you have unlimited amount of stuff because at that moment we consider it our job. to give you crap.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will show you the day it happened. Okay. The day it happened. They did the chest tube. And I remember when that was over and I could breathe. Because the whole time I couldn't breathe, honestly, part of me is like, this is going to turn into a tension pneumo. I'm a goner, right? Like I'm fucked. So, I mean, they're flying to the hospital. We got PDs giving us escorts. I mean, they're moving quickly to try and save my life. And I couldn't breathe the whole time. And I was panicked because I'm like, this is it. Like, I know what happens here. If I don't get air soon, like I'm a goner. So they gave me the chest tube. And I remember suddenly being able to take a full breath. And I saw blood and air just come flying out of my chest. And, but I was like, okay, I'm going to be okay. And it was at that point, I don't know if they had already given me the pain meds or they gave it to me afterwards, but as soon as I knew I was going to be okay, I remember relaxing. And then, dude, I went to my happy place, right? At some point, my guys got to my bedside. I am loopy as fuck. And they said, hey, man, we're so sorry this happened to you. Is there anything you need? Apparently, I said, I need Oreos. And I passed out. I woke up covered in Oreo cookies.
Oh, they got more flavors there.
Oh, yeah. But I was, and I woke up.
Do you remember asking for Oreos?
No. And so I'm covered in Oreos and I'm completely confused. I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, what? And they're like, you said you needed Oreos. I'm like, okay, like, thanks. I was like, so yeah, man, I mean, I woke up in the hospital covered in jokes.
So they, at some point, they put you out or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they knocked me out after chest tube.
Obviously surgery.
But I'm like, dude, why not knock me out before the chest tube? Like, are you kidding me?
Getting a little serious at this point, but when you, before they put you out, you're aware of what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
You're also aware that they're probably they're going to intubate you. So that thought's going through your head. You're thinking, hopefully they don't get the intern.
Right.
But your wife, I mean, obviously she can't be there when they're putting you out. So, I mean, maybe people don't really know this, but I had it not this bad, but a similar instance where I almost lost an eye on the job and they go to put you out. And I remember there was a whole period of time before they put me out where I was talking to my wife and I was like, hey, everything's fine. Put the kids to bed. I didn't want to inconvenience them. But then I realized when they were putting me out, like, I don't know if I'm going to wake up with an eye or what's going to happen. And I felt bad by not having my wife there just because I didn't want to inconvenience anybody.
Right.
So there had to be a moment where they're putting you out where you're like, I mean, when you woke up, was she there?
Yes. As we were going to the hospital. So Donald Chan on our job, he and I went to college together at UC San Diego. It was his idea to be EMTs. He came flying through my door one day and was like, dude, we got to do this thing called EMTs. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And he's like, it's going to be awesome. You know, we're going to save lives. Because we had graduated college and we were both kind of dead end jobs and we hated it. And he and I played volleyball together at UCSD and he was my neighbor. And so he and I were hanging out every weekend, just hating life, right? Because we were doing dead end jobs. So he's like, dude, they have this thing called EMT. We got to do it. He's like, I signed us both up. And I'm like, all right, great. So, you know, years go by and we're both working at Force together. So when we call to cover now, right, like all hell's broken loose. Well, Donald's the first guy to get there. He's in the ambulance on the way up. And I'm like, Donnie, he's like, you got to call my wife. Because I want her to hear it from him. I don't want her to hear it on the news. I don't want a chief to make that call. I want her to hear it from someone she knows. And so while we're going to the hospital, you know, Donald's trying to save my life. He's putting on an occlusive dressing and he's starting an IV. And I'm just like, Donnie, man, you got to call Lisa, you know? And he's like, yeah, I will. You know, just let me work. I'm like, dude, like, just call Lisa. I'm trying to hand him my phone. No, he didn't call her.
No, but he's the one that with your lung.
So we, funny story, Donnie and I, EMT school together. We volunteered as firefighters together.
Did you tell him not to be the one to do it?
Well, so we go to medic school and we're lab partners. Yeah. And our very first lab was starting IMs, doing IM injections. Yeah. I go first. I read the instructions wrong. And the instruction said you flatten the muscle and then insert the needle bevel up. And of course, what they mean is squeeze the muscle until it's flat. And I read it. I go, okay. And I pressed the muscle down and I pushed it against his arm. And I took the needle and I go in full bore and it bounced off his bone. It bounced off the humerus. And he made this noise that came out of his soul. You know what I'm talking about? Like he just went, like just, he didn't go, ow. He was like, and I was like, oh my God. And I pulled it out. The needle was bent and his arm was numb for like 3 days. Right. So as we're going to the hospital, I'm listening to the vitals and I'm trying to tell everybody what to do because I'm panicked, but I'm like, you need to do this and you need to do that. And what's funny, he goes, hey, we're going to Mercy Hospital. And I go, Donnie, that's not the right catchment. You know, we got to go to UCSD. And I realized later, he's as panicked as I am because his wife, so funny enough, as we're halfway there, I start doing the math and I go, oh my God, I'm going to get a needle T, right? Like I'm going to have to get decompressed. And when I realized it, I go, Donnie, don't you fucking need it. And he goes, payback's a bitch, isn't it, Benny? And I started laughing because he did. It was payback's a bitch because he wants me back for the arm. And I was like, 10 years. But he remembered it was on his head. And he remembered, he's like, oh, you motherfucker, payback. And so he's like, payback's a bitch. And I was just like, oh, fuck. I was like, no. So luckily we got to the ER before we got to the trauma room, right?
Yeah, that's around the corner.
Right. Before he could get me. So he wheels me into the ER and of course we pulled in and there were engines and trucks from all over. And I felt like a little kid at an AYSO soccer game because it was like they made a tunnel for me. Right. And they wheeled me in. And there were 50 of our people in that trauma room. And I remember being very grateful. And I also remember the trauma room team, they were having trouble working. But they didn't try to clear it out because it wouldn't have worked.
They're not going to get him out of there.
They're not going to get him out of there. And I remember going, oh man, this is nice. Like I see everybody, like everyone's here for me. That's awesome. And they moved me onto the trauma table. And what's the first thing a trauma nurse does? Strip me butt ass naked. And suddenly I'm like, oh, God damn it. Right. Like, oh God, not in front of everybody. I was like, this sucks.
This is that. I hope my underwear is clean.
Yes. Yes. So, and this is where Donald gets me back. Right. So I'm butt ass naked on the trauma table in front of 50 of my people. And the doc very quickly goes, oh dude, he goes, your lung is fucked. Like I got to do a chest tube. And I said, all right, doc. I said, no problem. I said, but I've seen people get chest tubes. I go, you got to knock me out. And he goes, no, Ben, I can't do that. But don't worry. I'm going to have 4 of your people hold you down. And even then I'm like, that's the treatment? Modern medicine. Yeah. 4 people hold me down? Like,
don't worry.
What kind of fucking plan is this? I was like,
why did you say don't worry before that? Like, I feel like you could have just said that. I think the don't worry part
I know
was unneeded.
Exactly.
It was false.
Right.
False hope.
Don't worry though. I'm going to have 4 people hold you down.
Do you think that ER docs like us, they have their own little humor?
They must. They have to. They have to.
Of course they do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then I told them, don't worry.
Yeah. High-fiving each other.
Later on that night, he's at the lamplighter over there. He's like, and then I said, don't worry.
Oh, they have to. They have to tell those stories.
Because, they're just like us. So you just said, he was already messing with you with the needle T.
He was, yeah.
The ER doc is doing the same thing.
Well, and so Donnie did get me back because I'm laying there and Donald said, hey, man, doc, before we do this, you think we can cover Ben up and give him some privacy? Talking about my junk. And the doc's like, oh, yeah, okay, good call. And so Donald steps back, covers me up with a cocktail napkin. Motherfucker. Dude. And then he covers me up and
where does he even get a cocktail napkin?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to ask.
Right. And then I literally heard somebody else go, dude, that's a waste of half a napkin. And I'm like, bro, that's not cool. That's so not cool. And I remember it made me laugh, right? Even though I was about to get a chest tube, I remember kind of laughing, just going, you guys are dicks. Like, that's so not cool. But yeah, then he sliced me open and he shoves a garden hose in my chest, dude. I saw it. It said Home Depot on the side, bro. It was a garden hose. And I've never felt pain like that. It just, and he shoved in like an inch and then another inch. And he kept just trying to find that pocket. And I am absolutely screaming my head off. And I'm just going, stop it, stop. And he just keeps going. And then he hit the pocket. And I just remember like air and blood just goes, blah, 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 and it just comes flying out. And I went, and I took a deep breath and I was like, oh, like, yes. And so then everybody like let go of me and I was laying there and I was like, oh, thank you. And so Donald, he didn't get to needle T me, but he totally fucked with me. So what a dick. I spent a couple days in the hospital. They never had to intubate me. They didn't have to do that, which was nice, but they did knock me out, let me sleep. And I did wake up and my wife was in the room and man, it was hard to read her, but there was a lot of anger, a lot of fear. She was pissed, just sitting by me, holding my hand, but it looked like she wanted to kill me herself, just, so, and we can talk about it later, but she basically had told me she had mentally prepared to get a call from a chief, right? And she had mentally prepared since I had been through the academy 10 years prior. But she said when she actually got the call, she wasn't ready. And that stuck with me a lot. So that was interesting. She confided in me, weeks later that when she got the call, it wrecked her. So anyway, so I spent a couple days in the hospital. Dude, they loaded me up with everything, dude. It was Percocet, fentanyl, heroin. It was awesome, man. I mean, I was in my happy place. After a couple days, they said, okay, they pulled the chest tube out. They seal me up and they say your chest, you're holding air now. They said, you're going to have to shower, but you can't get this bandage wet. We don't want any water getting into this hole. So, you're going to have to sponge bathe. They sent me home with all the pain meds, which was awesome. And I went home and they said, hey, in about 2-3 weeks, come back. We'll pull the stitches. You go back to work. And I was like, awesome. Like, this is going to be great. And I'm going to have some fun story, but I'm looking forward to getting back to work. I feel fine. I'm taking that Percocet every night to go to sleep. What I didn't realize was that Percocet was kind of keeping my subconscious at bay. So after about 10 days, I started getting opiate gut, right? You get constipated. The pain wasn't that bad, but I could tell that I was getting addicted. And everyone here knows how addictive opiates are. And I don't want that to be my story. I don't want to come back addicted. So after about 10 days, I'm like, okay, well, I'll just take this ibuprofen. I'll just write it out. I'll gut it out. Let me just get through this next week or so. And then I'll go get the stitches out and then I'll be ready to go. What I didn't realize is that opiate was keeping my subconscious at bay. So that first night without opiates, I had a nightmare. And these nightmares, man, are like nothing I've ever experienced. They were so real, so visceral. I basically had a dream. I'm back at the trolley stop. I am up against the railing. My hands are up. Stabby's got his knife. We're about to go at it. But I can see him as clearly as I can see you. I can smell urine on the street. I can feel the heat on my back from the sun. And the trolley goes by behind me and the wind kind of rocks me. I mean, it is that level of detail. And he comes at me and he stabs me. But this time I capture his hand and I keep it. So the knife is in my back, but he can't stab me again. So I've trapped his hand. And I reach over and I grab him by his ear and I trip him and I throw him down on the ground and I climb on top of him. And I remember thinking, it's my turn now, right? Like, I am going to fuck you up and I am going to get you back. And so I take him by both his ears, pull my hands out, and he's screaming and I scream back at him, kind of taunting him. And I just go, ah! And I wake up screaming. And I sit straight up in bed and I've got my hands out clenched where his face was. And I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. I am soaked in sweat, just soaked to the bone. I taste blood in my mouth. It's probably my own blood. I probably bit my tongue. And I'm just drenched. And my wife is laying next to me and she's in the fetal position, right? And she's awake, but she's pretending to be asleep. And my heart rate is about 150 and my blood pressure is just in my ears. And I'm just like, oh, right, just fucking pissed. And I was like, whoa, that was gnarly. And I mean, I'm wide awake. So I go downstairs, I get a cup of water, I sit in the dark, and I just try to bring my heart rate down. I just try to recover from that adrenaline blast. I mean, it's 2 a.m, but I'm wide awake, soaked. And I remember thinking, okay, that makes sense. Like I should have been expecting that gnarly event, gnarly nightmare. Duh. Like, of course that would happen. That was scary, but okay. I watched the sun come up. I watched the sun go down, right? I'm awake the whole time. And I remember thinking, okay, that was a one-time event. Let's take 2. Well, that second night, I have the same nightmare. I gouge his eyes out. I rip his face off. I wake up screaming. 3rd night, 4th night, gouge his eyes out, rip his face off, wake up screaming. 6th night, 7th night, 8th night. And suddenly I'm really getting worried because the deadline for me to get my stitches out is coming pretty quick. And I haven't slept now in a week or longer. And I'm suddenly going, I'm in trouble.
It's funny how we're so worried about getting back to work.
Right?
I mean,
that was my focus. I got to get back to work.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking, I might not ever be able to go back to work. Like, what is happening to me? What is happening? And what I'm realizing is I'm very angry. I'm very angry I lost that knife fight. I'm very angry I didn't know we were knife fighting. I'm angry that I didn't protect my partner, right? I got my ass kicked. Because of that, I got my partner stabbed, right? That's on me. I'm angry that I didn't move quick enough. Why didn't I go left? Why didn't I go right? Why didn't I kick the guy? All these things, right? And I don't know what to do. I'm kind of lost. Then the craziest thing happens is the video that I showed you guys gets released to the press and the media says, hey, we've got video of a firefighter who's been stabbed on duty. And I remember thinking, holy shit, somebody else got stabbed on duty, right? I didn't know the guy was wearing a body camera. And when I was getting stabbed, I didn't know the guy was standing right behind me filming the whole thing. So they show the video on TV. Well, they play it in slow motion because you saw it in real speed. In real speed, it happens so quick, you can't see what happens. So they played in slow motion. And what I tell people is when you go through an event like that, your brain replays it in slow motion anyway. I was thinking of that fight over and over in slow motion. And then to see it in slow motion on TV, practically from my point of view, it was the most surreal, coolest thing because they took it right out of my brain and put it on TV. It was amazing. Well, my wife saw it. She didn't know the guy had tried to stick me in the head. She immediately starts crying. Me, I replayed it 100 times. I just kept rewinding it, played it again, rewinding it, playing it again. And at the time of the event, I had gotten dozens of calls and emails and people were like, hey man, if you need anything, we're here for you. But after that video gets released, people start driving to my house. They're knocking on the door and they're going, dude, are you okay? And I realized they're not asking if I'm physically okay. They're asking now if I'm mentally okay. And I remember thinking, this is great. I have a get out of jail free card. I can go get mental health help and no one will make fun of me. Because I'm realizing now, like that video gets released. I haven't slept in a week. I'm like, oh man, I need help. I need mental health help. And then having people come and ask me, dude, are you mentally okay?
It's important to emphasize too that your thought pattern, how you think, okay, I'm a macho firefighter. Now I can do this and no one's gonna. It's important to emphasize that.
Yes.
That topic that.
Yes. The only reason I felt okay getting help is because that video, nobody would make fun of me. That was my first thought. People see the video, no one will make fun of me if they find out I'm going to see a shrink. Yeah. That was the only thing that I was like, okay, everyone can see my injury now. Now I can get help and my reputation is intact. I've worked very hard on my reputation. It won't be flushed down the toilet because people can actually see my injury. Right? And for those podcasters who haven't got to see the video, they hear me go, I got stabbed. And you go, oh, that sucks. But you see the video, you're like, oh shit, right? Like that guy put a knife through your hair. Like he was, right? I mean, I get buy-in from people when they see the video. And that's honestly the reason I'm comfortable talking to people in public is because I can show the video and then I go, okay, I got PTSD. Anybody got a problem with that? And everyone's like, no, you've earned it. Right? Isn't that weird? That's sad.
It's sad. Yeah. I don't want to say the word sad. It's just it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
We're all the same way. And I think it's important to emphasize that it's not right. But I understand completely. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Up until my, minor injury, I would have did the same thing.
Right.
It's when you're at home by yourself when the shit really hits the fan and you kind of really start seeing like I'm jacked up.
Well, how scary it is to be with your own thoughts and just sit in your own juices type of thing, like that.
To have a we go on anxiety calls every day. We've seen nervous breakdowns on the regular. Yep. I've seen people have anxiety attacks. We've seen the numbness. I've seen it all.
Yeah.
But to have your own body doing that on its own, and you could feel it, and you could feel it happening. You could feel basically a nervous breakdown happening, and you knowing what it is the most surreal thing I've ever felt.
And I remember being mad at myself for having attacks because I'm like, how? Because I used to always think those people were weak. And I would look down on them and I would get frustrated with them. And I would be like, well, you're like Eeyore, like you're just depressed, like snap out of it. Right. And I just thought those people were mentally weak. And then to have an attack, I remember just going, no, not me. Like I'm too strong for this. How have I gotten here?
And just so people listening understand, I was having a moment like that myself. And I heard a podcast with Ben on it. And it's crazy how life works. That was like 3-4 years ago. And now we're sitting here talking.
Doing a podcast.
But I heard you tell your story on a podcast and tell about your journey. And that's what led me to this.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, the brigade's part of that too. I mean, that's kind of like my therapy.
Yeah, dude. I'm so stoked for what you're doing, man. Because if somebody, just one person sees this podcast and goes, okay, I'll go get help, it's worth it.
Yep.
It's absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
Because it's just our culture. We've created such a terrible culture of asking for help. And so, yeah, the video saved my life because I was like, oh, well, now I can go get help. What's funny though, is after that, a whole different journey. And this is where my story is almost identical to others is I go, okay, well, now I need help, but I don't even know where to start. At the time I go, okay, I'm injured. I called the city and I said, hey, this is a workers' comp injury. I need to see a therapist. And they go, absolutely. We'd be happy to help. They emailed me a list with 4 names and 4 phone numbers. That was it. They were workers' comp psychologists. Not knowing any better, I picked up the phone. I called the first number on the list. The voicemail said the guy had been retired for 2 years and he stopped taking clients. That should have been a red flag for me. It wasn't. I just crossed that name off, called the second person. Second person calls and goes, okay, yeah, I can help you. I can see you in a week. And I remember at the time thinking, that's fine. I just need as long as I know help is coming, I can deal with these nightmares. I can deal with not sleeping. Help is on the way. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. I'll be fine. My appointment comes, and quite honestly, I'm excited to go see a therapist, right? Because I don't know what a therapist looks like.
I actually had a sort of a different experience. The night before or leading up to it, it almost was worse for me. And I think it's because I realized that when I go in there, I'm going to have to talk about things that maybe I don't want to talk about. I mean, everybody has a different experience, but I think it almost made it worse building up to it. Obviously, the actual appointment was great, but getting up to it, maybe it's just me. But
yeah, everybody reacts differently. I just remember thinking like help is on the way. Like because I just got to sleep. At this point, my only focus is sleep. I'm not even thinking about the job anymore. I'm thinking of survival, right? I'm like, I have to survive this. And if I don't sleep soon, right? And that was a breaking point for me is at 2 a.m, I'm trying to get to 2:01 a.m. And then I sit there and I get to 2:01 and I go, oh my God, I have to get to 2:02. I was like, this is torture. And I remember having a moment where I said, if I don't figure this out, I own a gun. I'm guaranteed I'll get some sleep then. And it was that not sleeping that was absolutely driving me into the ground. And I remember having my first ever suicidal thought. For me, I always thought suicide is weak, you know, and I could never understand how people could get to that point. Because for me, I could always say, well, yeah, but today sucks, but I get to go camping next week, or I get to go to Disneyland with my family in a month. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And now I'm realizing I can't see past the end of my nose. I'm trying to get through the 1 minute I'm in, right? I'm so closed off. I can't look up. I'm in my own world of pain and hurt. And it was at that point, I'm like, oh my God, I need help, right? This is not going well. And so, yeah, I'm just forever grateful that that video got released, and it just gave me this opportunity. Now, here's my question. If you had a Venn diagram of like me and therapists, right? I don't know what a therapist looks like. I've never met one.
You're hoping to get like a Robin Williams,
yes,
that movie with Matt.
Good Will Hunting.
You're hoping to get like this guy that's just knows exactly what your problem is.
Yes,
he's got books on the wall, and he's just he didn't go to Harvard, but he went to community college, but he's smarter than Harvard.
Yes,
that's what you're looking at, right?
Yes. Also, because I only get my knowledge from TV. We talked about how people fuck up our profession all the time.
Thinking, okay, if I don't get that, then maybe I'll get that black couch I can lay on with the pillow.
It's called a chaise lounge. It's called a chaise lounge.
So
I've learned. But this is who I pictured Will Ferrell. I swear to God, dude, I picture a dude with a beard. I picture a tweed jacket with elbow patches. I picture a pipe. What I realize is I'm picturing Sigmund Freud, right? But yeah, this is a picture of a chaise lounge. This is a chaise lounge. It's that half couch.
Yeah.
And by the way, I've never seen that in anybody's house. So I think you get it in a psychologist store. Like, I'm just assuming they buy that there. Dude, you should. Yeah, we just tell our story for the couch. Honestly, I picture I'm going to go. This is a therapist buddy of mine. This is Dave Bond. We were talking about him earlier. He's a great therapist, former cop. I'm going to cry my eyes out, right? And this dude's going to think I'm batshit crazy. That's kind of what I picture. So my appointment comes. I'm very excited. I get to go see and meet my first therapist. I can't wait. I'm not kidding you, man. This dude was little.
Like Danny DeVito?
Like, you could see his feet in his driver's license picture. Like, he is tiny. Yes, Danny DeVito. And I'm not kidding you. The door to his office, just the bottom half opened up. This dude walked out just the bottom half of the door. Okay? He's not a midget. He's not a dwarf. He's just a tiny little man. And I just wasn't ready for it. And so I got down on my knees and I was like, "Are you my doctor?" And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Come with me." And I'm like, "Okay." And
you're like Elf.
Yes. And I like picked him up and carried him back to his office and I put him in his high chair. But I meet this guy and he goes, "Hey man, I'm excited to work with you. I've never worked with a firefighter before." He goes, "I work with car accident victims." I go, "Doc, this is great. I've never worked with a therapist before. I also work with car accident victims." Right? I'm trying to find common ground. So I meet him and he goes, "Well, tell me what's going on." And I said, "Well, I can do you one better." I said, "I'll show you what happened to me." And I get out my phone and I show him the video, right? I mean, it's rare you can show your attempted murder to your therapist, right? Like, this is my attempted murder. And he goes, "Oh my God, that guy tried to kill you." And he goes, "So what's going on?" I said, "Well, I'm having nightmares where I rip this guy's face off in my sleep and I wake up tasting blood in my mouth." And you should have seen the look on his face, dude. He looked scared of me. And he goes, "Well, Ben, if you're having trouble sleeping, the best thing to do is lay off the caffeine." Yeah. Yeah. I remember, in my head, I'm thinking, brother, I don't have a PhD, but that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I go, I'm pretty sure it was the knife in my chest, not the coffee in my stomach, that's causing my sleep problems. You asshole, right? Like, I remember just absolutely going like,
now I got to add this guy to my nightmare.
Yes. Now I'm going to tear you apart in my sleep. And I was just like,
that's exactly what he's hoping you're not doing.
Right. But my first session didn't go well. It didn't go well. I left his office and I remember just sitting in my car and I'm like, oh man, like, oh boy. And then I thought, well, the best therapy for us is us. I'm going to go to a firehouse.
Sometimes.
Yeah. I'm going to hang out with my people. We're going to laugh. We're going to decompress. That's going to help me. And so I didn't even look at the roster. I didn't look on my phone. I just drove to the nearest firehouse. I just wanted to hang out with my people. I was by myself for days and days, just wallowing in my misery. I thought, okay, well, let me just hang out with my people. We're going to have a good time. I go in the kitchen and I swear to God, it was a guy from my academy. And I was like, this is awesome, right? Like, yes. And he goes, Benny, buddy. And he pulls a knife on me as a joke. Hilarious, right? Hilarious.
But maybe you're not quite ready for that.
I wasn't ready.
So when I came back with the eye thing, yes. I was out of work for 6 months. I come back in and I'm walking into the app floor, and we'll talk about it later. But this captain had just had his phone run over by the rig at that, like right before I walked in. Ooh. So he's looking at his phone and he can't see what the number on the phone is, and he's talking to Verizon trying to tell them the phone that he needs a new phone, but he can't see it. He looks at me, and I don't think this is actually on purpose, but one of my eyes is jacked up, and he goes, John, come here. I need you to look at this and tell me what you see. And I thought he was messing with me. I thought, like, I had just walked on this app floor and this dude's already on me. And I thought, I would know what the hell. And I was like, yeah, Cap, let me see it. And I did it. He was dead serious.
He wasn't even trying.
He wasn't even thinking about me, like what happened to me. He was literally like, I can't see this number. Help me. It was a little different. They weren't trying to make fun of me, but there is a lot of release there. But in the firehouse, these guys, we're trying to run calls. Right. We're on first, second, third shift in a row. Right. We're trying to, in a sense, survive. We're running calls. We're not in the mode to really talk about what's really happening. That's again with that attention span thing. We don't have time for it. The minute we get into anything, the tones go off. So I almost would, and I'm sure you're probably going to talk about this. This probably wasn't the best idea. That was
a terrible plan. It was a terrible, terrible plan.
And he didn't mean nothing by it. He didn't. It was totally like he sees you and you look like you're healthy, you're strong, right. And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna mess with him."
Right.
He wants to make you laugh.
Yes,
that's all his intent.
Exactly.
Yes.
He probably thought you were good, and he wanted to make you laugh.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's all of our goal is.
Yes,
make Ben
to
laugh.
Keep it light.
Mm-hmm. Tones are gonna go off and go on a call. Hey, I saw Ben today, guys. I saw Ben, made him laugh. I chased it with a knife.
Right, right. And people do that now. I laugh my ass off. It is hilarious. I just remember at the time, you weren't ready. I was in fight or flight still.
Yeah.
And so he pulled that knife, and I remember I went aggressive. Like I was ready to kill him. And he realized like, oh, dude, shit, sorry. Right. He's like, oh, that humor didn't go well. My bad. So he put the knife away. He goes, hey, I'm sorry. And I go, no, this is my fault. Right. I asked for this. That was my fault. I got to go. And I ran out of the firehouse and I drove home. And I remember I was crying because I was out of control. I wasn't in control of my emotions. Right. It takes a lot to make me angry. And now I'm angry all the time. Yeah,
you're on the edge.
I'm on the edge
all the time.
Yes. And I'm looking over the abyss.
Were you breaking down at the most ridiculous thing?
Yes. And then what absolutely killed me is I've gone to a professional. I have risked my reputation.
What do I do now?
I have gone to a pro and it doesn't help.
And let me tell you, listen, I'm so glad that journey you're talking about, I didn't have to go through any of that because of you. Because of that podcast, looked me up. I learned the word focus. And I ended up actually talking to the exact reason on there. And I have never had to. So you already have complete. I didn't have to do any of that. I don't know what I would have. I was at that point.